In this video, we'll show you how to bleed your power steering fluid on your Honda Civic. You can find the right power steering fluid on CarParts.com via the link in the description. For safety reasons, we strongly suggest watching our video on how to jack your Honda Civic safely. The vehicle must be placed on jack stands so that the steering can be used without damaging it when bleeding the circuit. You can see the power steering fluid reservoir to the left of the engine compartment. Using a multi-bit screwdriver and a 10mm socket, unscrew the metal bracket bolts from the air conditioning hoses to gain better access. Using a flathead screwdriver, unclip the air conditioning hose retaining clip. Open the filler plug. Then, using a pump or syringe, remove all the used fluid from the reservoir. You can see hoses connected to the power steering fluid reservoir, a hose that feeds the power steering pump, and the return line. Place paper towels under the return line to protect the engine compartment from any power steering fluid that flows out. Using pliers, remove the metal clip from the return line. Then, remove the return line from the reservoir. Connect a plastic tube to the return line to enlarge the circuit. Then reinstall the clamp to hold the assembly in place, or install a screw-on clamp. To ensure that the reservoir can be filled without the fluid escaping between the point where the reservoir connects with the return line, install a blanking plug. Alternatively, connect another hose, the end of which will be higher than the top of the power steering fluid reservoir. Hey, it's Alex from CarParts.com. For great content, our best price, and fast shipping, download the CarParts.com app now. Dip the plastic tube into a bottle to collect used fluid. Then fill the reservoir with new fluid to the maximum level. Switch on the ignition without starting the engine. Then turn the steering wheel as far as it will go, first on one side and then the other. Repeat the operation several times. Gradually, the rack and pinion cylinders expel the fluid via the return line into the bottle and suck in the new fluid. It is important to add liquid to the reservoir regularly to prevent air from entering the system. In the event of a faulty steering rack and pinion, or to replace the fluid in the steering pump, this operation may not be sufficient. You will need to remove the fuel pump fuse from the fuse box. To do this, remove the plastic cover above the hood release handle. Then, remove the fuse using needle nose pliers. This will enable you to run the engine and the power steering pump using the starter, without the engine actually starting and reaching an excessive rotation speed. The steering pump should not run without fluid. If the engine starts completely, you won't be able to compensate for the pump suction, and air will enter the system, as you can see in these pictures. By removing the fuse from the fuel pump, the power steering pump will have a slow rotation speed, allowing you to fill the reservoir as the fluid is drawn in. Once new fluid starts flowing into the bottle, you can consider your bleeding to be complete. Disconnect the return line hose and remove the bottle. Disconnect the hose from the reservoir. Then reconnect the return line to the reservoir. Put the retaining clip back in place. Remove the paper towel. Screw the air conditioning hose bracket bolts back on. Then fill the reservoir with new fluid to the maximum level. Put the fuse back in place. Replace the plastic cover. You can now rest your vehicle on the ground. Operation complete.